So this is for Danny. And I totally understand what you're saying. I hear that passion. I hear that upset. And it makes sense. What I want to say, though, is that I actually don't think Jennifer Abel or Melissa Nathan were talking smack about Stephanie Jones, about this particular thing. Other things, yes. And the reason I say that is when it was brought up to Melissa Nathan first that it could have been Stephanie, she says no. So she doesn't actually think it's Stephanie in the beginning. When Jen says something to Melissa, then like Jen also doesn't think it's Stephanie. So neither of them thought it was Stephanie. They became convinced it was Stephanie after they realized a few things. So that's the only thing I want to offer. Not the only thing. I'm going to read you some text. But that is one of my offerings. They both actually didn't think it was Stephanie that leaked anything. So Sarah was talking to Leslie and Melissa was talking to Sarah. And so Sarah said she, which is Leslie, she said Stephanie. So maybe Stephanie is involved. And Melissa goes, she's not. And Sarah goes, very weird. And Sarah said, she said Stephanie is a C word. And Melissa said, it's just Jen, who is way too scared. And Sarah's like, I'm trying to hold this back anyway as I need something for Sats. She's talking about her story. The story that Leslie wants her to now run because she got upset. She's like, I'm trying to hold this. And plus I need a story anyway for Saturday. And Melissa says, I mean, she is right. SJ is a C word. And Sarah said, she actually said lying C word. And Melissa says, not wrong. Then this conversation starts at 8:44. And Melissa says on Zoom, she's now talking to Jen. And Jen says, I wanted to tell you something funny. Melissa said, I'm calling after, and I couldn't tell what the emoji was, but I thought it was a toilet emoji. So I'm so sorry, Melissa, if it wasn't a toilet emoji. Sorry. I don't know what emoji it was. Jen says, Steph chimed into the Daily Mail article and then screenshot it and sent to Jamie and Tara and was like, I know her, I will handle and she will kill it. And Jamie told her to stand down because your handling made me giggle. Melissa said, oh my God, wait, Jen, she just effed us up. This is making sense now. Okay, so she had just finished talking to her sister. Her sister thought it was Stephanie Jones. She told her, no, it's not. But then she has this conversation with Jen and she's like, oh my word, wait a minute. Then Jen goes, she didn't respond though. She sent that to me and the team, not the writer. Melissa said, no, I think she did. And Jen said, stop, why? And Melissa said, my sister, and it was too pixelated for me to read. She says, I'm trying to calm her down. And again, too pixelated for me to read. And then something about Zoom. And she says, we'll call you right after. And Jen says, okay. And Melissa says, I think she might have called a person at DM she won't tell you. Because Leslie then called Sarah and said DM called her and said Justin Camp are blaming Blake. And I know we haven't said anything to that fact. She might have just effed us all up here. And Sarah needs to run her story ASAP. And Jen said, what? Stop. So at 8:52, Sarah says, this is from Leslie. And then she shares what Leslie's message is. Leslie said, Daily Mail holding, I scared them. Stephanie's getting a call from studio. Blake worked so hard, I want this work. So I'm pretty sure she meant, I want this to work. And then Sarah said, so apparently we're holding, but let me know what you hear and what I need to add in. And Sarah said she added, Stephanie is really bad. So then, according to Jen, she receives a phone call from Danny of Sony before Josh texted her. In that, Danny tells her Stephanie Jones's name, which makes sense. Because, again, they were told at 8:52 a.m. that Stephanie was going to get a call from the studio. Josh calls her at 9. Josh calls Jen Abel at 9 a.m. But Danny calls her first. So there's an 8-minute window here. So how come Josh thought it was Jen Abel when we know that Leslie Sloan called the studio to talk to them about Stephanie Jones? And we have proof that Leslie called Danny. So right there, attachment 33, exhibit 175, August 8, 2024, text messages between Danny and Leslie Sloan. And that I am waiting to be unsealed because that matches what they're saying here. So she gets a call from Danny first, and then at 9 o'clock, again, 8 minutes from the time that they found out that Leslie was going to call, she gets a call from Josh accusing her of being of talking to people. To me, I think that Stephanie Jones got a phone call. Then Jen got a phone call. You know what I'm saying? And then all of this went this way. And that's why Josh called her back a little bit later. So I just find that interesting. At 9 o'clock, Stephanie says, acknowledge receipt to Lillian and said, I'd contact her like we always do, which is part of our job. No one should be contacting media except Jones Works, as we are agency of record. Unsure how Melissa's in the middle of it. We were not privy to those discussions with Melissa, although we should be. But here's the thing. The client, Jamie Heath, hired Jones Works for PR stuff, right? Melissa was handling PR crisis stuff. This fell under PR crisis stuff. And she hadn't reached out. That's the thing. Melissa had not reached out to Daily Mail. Neither did Jen. So Melissa hadn't stepped on any toes. I mean, mind you, yes, they were planning to take Wayfarer with them out the door, like Jen was. But that was the hope, at least, right? But at this point in time, while all of this was happening, they had not messed with anything. They were just trying to ride out this wave and just be quiet, not make any big deals. So then Josh Greenstein at 9 a.m. reaches out to Jen and says, I've been informed you've been speaking to sites about bad blood between Blake and Justin. He was good on today's show. If a negative story breaks out, it would hurt the movie. Again, this text message from Josh Greenstein to Jen happened after she had already talked to Danny, who had talked to Leslie, who had said it was Stephanie Jones. And that is what ends up being communicated to Jen. And she does talk to Jamie about it. She does. So I'm not saying she didn't talk to Jamie about it, but Jamie also got a call from Sony. And so Jamie at 9:16 says, I'm hearing from Sony that, quote, someone named Stephanie Jones has responded out to Daily Mail saying that Blake is to blame, and now this has escalated at all. We were purposely not responding to anything as to not fuel. This has fueled it. Everyone stand down unless I am aware of any moves. I don't care who is supposed to do what. I'm most interested in that. I'm interested only in any strategy being run by me. I need all to understand that. And I think, I feel like I'm most interested in that is not an actual correct sentence, but I never know what he actually meant. At 10:13, Melissa says to her sister, I can't believe Stephanie did this. And Sarah's like, I can. And then she says, I messaged her. Now, when she says I messaged her in context, she's not talking about Stephanie. She's talking about Leslie Sloan. And Melissa says, thank you. And then Leslie texts Melissa after she landed. Before she landed and said, happy to, I land in less than 2 hours. So, and then Melissa is talking to Jen and she said, she replied, more than happy to speak to you. I'm landing in 2 hours. And Jen said, exactly. Everyone needs to cool down and stop fueling the fire. Melissa said, I need to have a shower and go to my client, but you made the right decision. And I hope you know this exactly. And Jen says, we are all on the same team. And Melissa says, and I'm going to tell her exactly that. And Jen says, I know now more than ever. And Melissa said, horrified. And I want to make it clear to folks, Melissa Nathan had already been signed up. This was not her trying to solidify a job. She already was on retainer for 3 months, okay? She didn't need the headache. She was going to get paid no matter what for 3 months at least. So she wasn't trying to create fires where fires didn't need to exist.